Hey folks, welcome to another Master Riff. Today I'm going to show you how to play the riff to No Justice by Harem Scarem. Now we've already actually looked at the guitar solo, so if you want to check out that, you can do it after this lesson. Just check out that link there and you'll be able to learn how to play the solo. But let's look at this riff. So I'm a half step down here, so I've got my E to E flat, A to A flat, D to D flat, G to G flat, B to B flat, and then that high E string is down to an E flat as well. So the riff starts with a bar sounds like this. Okay. Now this is actually in an odd time signature. The way you're kind of counting this is like a kind of 7, like 7/8. So you think of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And what we're starting off with is I'm going to do a hammer 5 to 7 in that A string, but with the open E string as well. Then I'm going to play effectively 7, 5, 7 on that A string with the third, first and third finger, but strumming it so it kind of goes down, up, down. That E string, so that kind of goes. Then I'm going to play the E string twice, down, up. And then I'm going to play basically a hammer 5 to 7 again in the A string with that E string. And then I've got this. So what I'm playing is like a D power chord. I'm going to end up with my third finger at the 7th fret in the D string, but I start off with my middle finger at the 6th fret of the D string and the 5th fret of the A. Put that little dyad there, put the third finger on and then take it off. Yeah, so that bar slowly goes like this. Yeah, so the feel of this is quite strummy rather than precise. Kind of individual kind of riffage. So that's like the feel, that first bar. Second bar we start the same. And then we've got this. So what I'm going to do here is I've got a little pickup, 16th open E string. Then I'm going to hammer 6 to 7 in the E string with the second to third finger. And then first finger plays 5th fret that D, A string there. Then I'm going to come back down 6, 5, so I use my second to first finger here, and then 3, 0 in that E string. So it goes just like that. Okay, so that second bar sounds like this. Yeah. Then we get to a bar. It's a kind of longer feel, but what I'm going to play is this chord now. So I've got a C sus2 here, so I'm playing my first finger's barring across the 3rd fret, and then my third finger's in 5th fret D, my fourth finger's in 5th fret the G, and I hit that chord, so I'm just playing like the A, D and G strings. Then I'm going to hit effectively kind of like the A and the D strings, down, up, with the upstroke catching the high E, B and G strings. So I'm kind of separating that C sus2 chord from lower bit to higher bit, so that kind of goes. Then we have a bit that sounds like this. So what I'm going to do here is play an open A string, hammer 3 to 5 on that A string. I use my first and third. Then I'm going to play open G string, and then I play 4th fret of the D string there, and then open A string. So this is kind of like the bit we did the first bar where we did this. You're kind of thinking of this shape. Yeah, but it's got an open A string in it. Yeah, and then we end it off with this. So what I'm doing here is playing a G power chord. So I've got my first finger at the 3rd fret E and my 5th fret of the A string there with the third finger. And I'm going to do that power chord. Move down chromatically. So the way I like to kind of is I sync it up with like a strumming feel, so it's down, up, down, and then I play an upstroke in the open E. Okay, so that bar slowly kind of goes. Okay, and this open E string now leads into the next bar, and what I'm going to do is play that open E string again. And I like to do that with an upstroke, so I've just done that with an up. I'm going to do it again. So I'm thinking that the open E string is a kind of T up, and I'm going to do a pull off 3 to 0 on that E string with a downstroke. Then I'm going to go up to 7th fret A string with the third finger, and kind of give it a good bit of vibrato and a little bit of a pinch harmonic in there as well. Kind of around about there. It's kind of like a like a G sharp. Yeah, so that kind of goes. If I play the E from the previous bar, yeah, then I have a phrase that sounds like this. So what I'm doing here again is I'm doing a little precursor, open A string with an upstroke. Then I'm going to hammer 5 to 7 in the A string, first and third finger, and this is all very similar to what we did in the first bar. My middle finger is then going to play 6th fret of the D string, and then back to 7th fret in the A string with the third finger. So it kind of goes. Yeah. Then I'm going to play pull off 7 to 6th, 3rd to 2nd finger, and then back to 7th fret of that A string. And the end of that bar actually has a kind of little 16th note rest. It kind of makes sense when you start playing the riff again. So that bar, if I take the from the E string there, kind of goes, and then silence. So the way to feel these 16ths is nice and even. Yeah, so it's a nice kind of even kind of feel to it. So that's kind of the first 4 bars. We pretty much play that again, but instead of going to back to that shape there, we do our up to the 9th fret in the D string there. So I've got my shape with the first finger at the 5th fret A string, middle finger is playing 6th fret the D, third finger goes down to the 7th fret, and then up to the 9th fret there for a little stretch in that bar. So it goes. Yeah. Then the next bar is the same as we had in bar 2. Yeah. This bar starts the same with the C sus2. And now I've got this. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing that chord. Play the D string and then the B string. So you end up with 5th fret in the D string, 3rd fret of the B string. Take that chord up a tone, so you're now playing a D sus2, and I'm going to play A string, which is 5th fret A string. Then I've got 7th fret the D string with that chord, and then 5th fret the B string for that next bit. So it kind of goes. Yeah. I've got an open E string, and I've got a, just as we'd had before. So you just kind of set that up with that open E string. And then for the ending bit, it starts off the same. Got that pull off 3 to 0, 7th fret the A string, 3rd fret. And I may end it off with something that I think probably it's like an open A string, but it sounds more like a kind of muted note here. So you can think of it as going for the kind of open A string as a setup. Do a hammer on 5 to 7 in A string, and then 6th fret of the D string with the middle finger, just like we did, you know, in that first bar. And then we end with the D chord, but the way this kind of feels, I would think of doing like a downstroke percussive hit and then an upstroke in the D power chord, you know, 5th fret A string, 3rd fret and the 7th fret D string there. So that end bit kind of goes. Yeah, and that's your kind of second 4 bars. And that's the whole riff, guys. So this riff is quite challenging, I think, from a timing perspective, because you've got these bars as 7/8, so you're kind of you're starting that sooner than you anticipate, and then you've got these. That bit there is quite tricky at tempo. For Whom the Bell Tolls is a great tune for working on that sort of stuff, but this idea of syncing up your strumming kind of movement with the movement of the chords will really help with that. And then it's just keeping these 16ths even. And that little gap there feels a bit weird, but if you think of playing the rest, you know, you'll get the kind of feel for it. Okay, so I want to say a big huge thanks to Nathan for suggesting this riff. If that's something you want to do, if you want to suggest lessons, come on over to the Patreon. That's something you can do if you're a member of the Patreon. You'll also get access to the Helix patch I created for this lesson, as well as the Sound Slice animated tab, so you can loop, you know, a section of this if you wanted to practice the You know, you can fire it up in sound size, set it to whatever 70% speed, and then loop it, and you can work and practice on it. Yeah, you'll also get access to all exclusive lessons we've got over on Patreon. We've got loads of technique lessons here at the moment. We've got theory lessons. We've got loads and loads of stuff up there. Gear lessons. I've also got an exclusive Patreon study group, and this week we're actually going to be looking at starting improvising over a 1-4-5 progression. So that's the kind of if you're interested in that sort of thing, come on over to the Patreon. You'll get access to all that. So thanks for watching, guys. If this is your first time here as well, please hit the subscribe button, and you'll be kept up to date with any uploads I do. So thanks for watching. See you soon.